living in a material world. If I hello with it, this video it's gonna be a really personal video, and I'm not doing it for any reason other than for myself. If anybody wants to know me or feel like they know me or know, then if I could talk, that'd be nice. I'm nervous. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it has a lot to do with the person who I am today and have been for a long time. You're not gonna know or understand me without knowing this story. When I was younger, I used to have really low self-esteem. I'm talking really low self-esteem. Where it definitely began is when I was younger, we moved and I was so happy where I used to be. But for some reason, like, everybody at this new school had something to say. People had no problem letting me know, I think, how they felt about me. And people would always just make jokes about me being skinny, especially back then. But before I had moved to the area, I never really dealt with that back home. So like, it was new to me because people were commenting on my image. It made me aware of not only my image, but the fact that we have images. Before that, I don't remember really giving much thought to like the way I looked before I walked out the house, or like the way the shape my body was in. None of that. Like, I just did the things a kid would do. So that was in 5th grade. 6th grade, I mostly struggled with, one was my body. Definitely my body. That was the biggest thing. I was flat-chested. I didn't have a butt. I was skinny. I had really bushy eyebrows. Oh, he needs some milk. And I was dark-skinned. I really just, like, if you don't have anything nice or like productive to say about the colorism conversation, I really feel like that's just one you might want to sit out, because it really irritates me when people try to tell me what I did or did not experience as a dark-skinned person. And I promise you, like, anybody in the Black community especially should know that colorism was a lot more prevalent in the early 2000s than it is now. Like, it was definitely a thing. Rappers were talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. Light skin versus dark skin. People were making jokes, and I too received jokes about being dark skinned. My eyebrows are bushy. I'm just a young girl. My teeth probably, like, I don't know. Like, I just wasn't the most attractive kid. Not that a kid is supposed to be attractive, but at the time, that was the thing. And also, I was struggling with my identity, because I was friends at the time with the most popular girl, I would say. Like, she just had a great personality. She also was kind of curvy for our age at the time. Boys really liked her, yada yada yada. I was her best friend, but I was not really curvy. I was not that attractive, I guess, in the face. Boys didn't really look at me like the way they looked at her. I was just kind of like the friend, but still, I was struggling with the idea that, like, I realized at some point that people just kind of saw me as like her sidekick, and I didn't really like that. So yeah, there were a few instances in particular in high school that really made a big impact. There was this one guy who I started having a crush on in 5th grade when I first moved up here, and then in 6th grade, I don't know, me and him must have been like talking on like MySpace, or like maybe this is when cell phones first started coming out, like the little Nokias. Me and this kid were talking. We went to a chorus concert, and one of my guy friends came up to me, and he was like cracking up, and he was like, "You'll never believe what so and so just said." And then he was just kind of like, I asked him like, "Oh, do you and Kayla talk?" And he was like, "Nah, I don't talk to no Kayla. Like, she don't got no breasts or no butt." And that was the first time I had ever encountered something so direct, so like personal, so it was like, that was like a blow, you know? Like, everything else was always kind of like, oh, Kayla's skinny, or Kayla this, or like, you know, that kind of something. But that was like different. That was on another level at the time. And not only that, but he was my friend, and he was a guy who I had a crush on, and who supposedly had a crush on me too. And so after my guy friend, the other guy, told me that, I was just like, okay. And so later that day, I remember going over my best friend's house, and I knocked on the door and she answered the door, and I remember just crying. Like, I just busted out crying, and I sat at her kitchen table, and she was just kind of like, what's wrong? And I was like, what he said is like really affecting me. Like I said, it was the first time I'd ever cried over a boy before, and I just thought it was really cruel of him. And needless to say, I didn't really talk to him after that. Like, I was not his friend after that. Yeah. But that wasn't the only time in middle school that happened to me. I sat in a class, in science class, by this one kid who was not very attractive by my standards personally. I wasn't focused on that at the time. He was just a kid I sat by. So months go by and I'm sitting by this kid and he's funny. We're talking, like, class is fun. Like, I enjoy sitting by him. Like, he was cool. He was a cool kid. It was a good time. And like, he was funny. He would always come and ask me for hugs in the hallway. And that's when I kind of realized he started to like me. And so after a while, I kind of like admitted to myself that maybe I kind of like this kid. And I knew that he wasn't that attractive, but I was like, but I don't care. Like, I think he's cute. I mean, I don't care. I think he's cool. So yeah. And I was like, well, you know, I guess I'd be willing to give it a try. Like, he's a cool guy. And so somebody must have saw and they asked him like, oh, so you and Kayla, like, y'all talk or something like that? And he was like, nah, I don't talk to Kayla. Like, she don't got no breasts or no butt. I kid you not. It was basically the same exact thing that the other kid had said about me a year ago in 6th grade. And so when I heard him say that, or like when I heard that, I was like, all right, it's a little bit, like, I can't fade this one. So I went home that day, MySpace days. I went home, I got on MySpace, and I messaged him, and I was like, did you say this? And he was like he couldn't. So I was like, so and so told me you said this type thing. I confronted him, and he was like, I'm so sorry. You know, I shouldn't have said that. Please forgive me. Like, I was like, nope. You're done. I remember I put Irreplaceable on my MySpace. It's so embarrassing. I put Irreplaceable on my MySpace as my song, and like, it was for him, and I was like, I couldn't believe like what? I was, in my mind, I was like, I was willing to overlook the fact that he was not attractive, and that, like, I know my friends would have clowned me at the time if I started dating him, and he had the nerve to say that about me. But I was like, well, what? So, you know, I say all of that story to say that, like, it was just kind of like a common thing that was happening to me in middle school. And those weren't the only 2 times. Those were the biggest 2 times. But for the most part, boys just kind of, they treated me like that. Like, they would think I was cool, kind of like a friend type. Out loud, they didn't want to have anything to do with me because I was the skinny girl. I didn't have no breasts or no butt. Like, I don't know. So now we get to high school. And high school starts to present a whole different kind of problems for me. I had already been doing sports, but I first started running track in 7th grade. So at this point, by the time we get to 9th grade, my body's kind of starting to look like that of a track runner because of the conditioning and stuff. And so I'm not really getting the comments like I used to do about me being skinny. I definitely still got them enough, like a lot, but not nearly as much as I used to in middle school and like elementary. I really hated high school. Like, I really hated high school. I was actually like, I didn't have a bad high school life just because I was well known, just because like I was a friendly person. I was always like, I would hang out with like the black crowd, but I also had a lot of white friends because I was in like a lot of honors or GT classes. And so I was also in orchestra. I was also on a track team. Like, I did a lot of things. I was in choir. I knew a lot of people, and like a lot of people knew me. I had an older brother, 2 years older. So like, older people knew of me. Then I had a sister 2 years younger. So like, younger people knew of me. I was like SGA president, stuff like that. So like, I definitely knew a lot of people. A lot of people definitely knew me, liked me, you know, and I liked people. Like, I was just kind of like a personable person who knew a lot of people. And so like, in that sense, everything was great. Like, people liked me, but nobody seemed to like me like that. I feel like within the black community at our school, people saw me as like the nerdy black girl. I always was like really good grades, honor roll, and like people knew me as a track girl, but that didn't keep boys from making jokes about me not having a butt or me not being cute, or, you know, just things like that. Like, they made it very clear that they didn't look at me like that. Like, I was not desirable in that way, like my friends were all starting to get attention for. And at the same time, my main focus at the time in high school was track, my grades, college. Like, I was not gonna go to college, and I was not gonna excel in track and with my grades. So that was really my main focus. So like, I wasn't prioritizing boys, and I wasn't pursuing boys. I would have liked to have been able to be involved with a guy, like have a little boyfriend, whatever, but it just didn't work out that way. And I kind of tried to stay positive about it and just be like, okay, well, if this is what boys want from me type thing, they're not going to get that. And so if that means I have to be single, then that was just going to be how it was. That's a good way to put it. It's high school. Like, that's what people were getting caught up in. And I feel like my friends kind of started to succumb to it, and I didn't want to do that. I knew that I wasn't putting out what boys wanted, and boys knew that too, obviously. So I really just ended up not really having any guy attention for the most part, in that sense, like a lot of my friends were beginning to do. And it kind of started to make me feel a type of way, because I started to feel ugly. Like, I mean, along with the jokes that people would make about me being dark skinned, whatever. During high school, track just became my thing. Like, I was getting really good at it at some point. Like, it just became my thing. I guess I kind of saw it as like, I may not be the most attractive person, I may not have the cutest face, like my butt is not big, but at least I'm fast at track. Like, it was one thing I was good at, you know, aside from my grades that nobody really cared about. Nobody could take away from me the fact that I was one of the fastest girls in my school, and I was one of the fastest girls in the county. And so that was something that I was really proud of. And so I unhealthily started to kind of wrap my self-worth around my track and field career and identity. And so that's important, because at some point when I was doing cheerleading, I hurt my back, and I didn't realize I hurt my back until much later. But that affected my track career, because I couldn't run the same once the back fracture like really started to, like, you know, it took its effect on my body. It took a couple years before I finally had to like hang up my track shoes and just be like, okay, I'm done. So now I'm at the point where like I said, I've tied my self-worth and like my identity, who I am. I take a lot of pride in being like Kayla, the track runner, the track star type thing. And at this point, I'm starting to notice that like I'm not doing as well in track as I would like to. It was just not great. So there was a time within those 2 years, I would say 10th and 11th, I became depressed. I think it was 10th grade. I was just like really, it was the first time in my life I would say I was depressed. And I was depressed because I felt ugly. I felt like no boys really liked me. Boys were always so cruel. I couldn't stand it. I was so upset because it was just like the age of Twitter. Twitter's becoming like a really popular thing now. There was a time in my school where everybody was fighting over Twitter or over boys, and I was like, y'all are really like focusing on all the wrong things. Like, these boys are not what's important. The females need to know their self-worth and know that like you're not supposed to just give it up to these guys like this type thing. I was tired of my friends and everybody else around me being so obsessed with boys, and I was like, aren't y'all worried about college type things? Your grades are not where they're supposed to be. Everybody was worried about the wrong thing. And at that time, I was just feeling very out of place. I felt like I didn't belong with these people. I felt like I didn't belong with the society, just in general. I just really felt like I felt ugly, and I felt like I didn't belong. And there was a point in time where I would come home after school and I would just cry sometimes. Now we're at 12th grade. At this point, I've been kicked off the track team a couple times because me and the coach do not get along. We got a new track coach. And like, I was supposed to be on the team, but like I just couldn't do it. Like, physically, I couldn't. My back is just, it was too bad at that point. So I don't have track anymore. I was depressed about that. Track was the thing that made me happy. It was the thing that I felt like I was good at. Nobody else could take away from me. Only God could take it away from me, and he kind of did. So I kind of resented God for a while during that time. I was just very unhappy. Like, I was like, at this point, like, what do I have? Like, it was just not great. So I became the track team's manager though at 12th grade. And so this is important because 12th grade is prom season, and I didn't think I was going to end up going to prom with anybody, because I couldn't think of anybody who I felt like would want to go to prom with me and that I also wanted to go to prom with. And so for a while I thought I was going to end up going by myself. Long story short, one day my friend came up to me and was like, who would you want to go to prom with? And I had this crush on this one guy who didn't even go to my school. I met him through, like, I didn't even know him. I knew of him through AAU track and field. His team and my team, we practiced at the same location, so we all knew of him in that team. It was like an all boys team, and we had like mostly an all girls team, so you know, it was that kind of thing. And so I just knew of him, and I thought he was super cute. All the girls thought he was super cute. He was super cute type thing. He was just that guy. And so one day, I remember at lunch, one of my friends came up to me and she was asking me, like, who did I want to go to prom with? And I guess she was expecting me to say someone in school, and I didn't. And I said his name. Like I said, I didn't know him though. And so later that same day, we had a track meet, and I was the manager of the track team, even though I wasn't running. So we went to a track meet, and I remember we were all sitting on the floor. I think it was an outdoor track meet, and it was raining, and so they had us go inside, like, the gym. They were trying to see if the rain was going to stop. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why were we in the gymnasium? We were sitting in a circle. I remember me and my friends, and at some point they got up to go talk to like a group of guys, and I just kind of sat there, and I didn't want to go over there with the guys, you know. So later that night, I got a text on my phone, and it was just kind of like, hey, this is so-and-so. And I died, y'all. I just really couldn't believe it. Like, that's the guy who I had a silent crush on him for like 12th grade. Yeah, like 5 or 6 years at that point. I just always crushed on him from afar, because like, not only did I not go to school or have any reason to talk to him, but like, he was like one of the most attractive guys I had considered myself to have ever seen. But like, all the girls liked him, and then my self-esteem is like way down here, so why would I ever even feel like I was like worthy to even, you know, type thing. Anyway, so he texted me, and he was just kind of like, he asked me to prom, basically. He asked me to prom, and I was goosing. So yeah, obviously I said yes to go to prom with him. And so yeah, that was just that. I later found out that my friends went and told him, of course, that I liked him. I mean, that I wanted to go to prom with him. And so he asked me to my prom. I was tripped out though, because I couldn't believe he had said yes to me. And then when I asked him, like, I think I was texting him, and I asked him like why he was asking me to prom. He was like, because he said something on, he definitely said the word bad, but he was like, you're bad. I don't think he cussed, but the equivalent of like, you're bad AF type thing. Like, when he said that, first of all, I fell out my chair at the table, and I told my mom what he said, and I was like, I just couldn't believe he said that about me. Yeah, this story about the prom, the whole prom story, is so important because it was a pivotal moment in my life. Because not only was I not really used to getting that attention from guys, but because it was coming from him, it meant so much more to me. And I was just really confused as to why someone like him was even interested in someone like me. So like, it was just like, the whole thing was crazy to me, and I didn't really understand. But at the same time, I wasn't putting too much energy into questioning that. I was just happy at the fact that I was gonna get to go to prom with him. So yeah, that ended up happening. We became really good friends. Before we went to prom, we had to get to know each other. We had a couple weeks to get to know each other. And then so prom came, we did our thing. It wasn't until my senior prom, that was the first time I'd got my eyebrows done. It was my first time getting my nails done. And I remember when I got my eyebrows done, I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and I was at CVS, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was looking at them like, oh my God. And I was looking at myself, and I just looked so different to myself. And then I went and got my hair done. I guess you could say it was the first time in a long time I had looked in the mirror and thought I was pretty. Or maybe the first time ever I thought I was pretty. So, and the day of prom comes, I look for what I feel is really nice. Like, I think I look really pretty. And like I said, it's not a feeling I was used to having. And like, I could tell by his face that he kind of thought I was pretty. And like, I was just like, it was really kind of a Cinderella moment for me. Nothing ever happened with that. Like, we never became boyfriend or girlfriend or anything, even though I wanted to at the time, but it just didn't happen. But we remained good friends, and I went off to college, and but yeah, I talk about him to say, like, it was not supposed to be, focused on that story, but he was important in my life because he kind of made me question why my self-esteem was the way it was. Because he was questioning me. He would ask me why I am the way I am, or like, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? And then it kind of made me turn to look at my own self, and I had to ask myself why I did do this or why I did do that. Like, I was in college, we would get on Uvu and talk. Throwback, y'all remember Uvu? We would get on Uvu and talk, or we would be texting, and I would say stuff like, oh, it's so boring here at this college, like, I want to go out and do this, or I want to go out and do that, like, I want to meet people. And I remember specifically, he texted me and he said, like, Kayla, I don't know why you don't just, like, walk out into the hallway and, like, go up to any random guy and, like, ask him to, like, hang out with. Like, you could really walk out into the hallway right now and get any guy you wanted. I don't know why you don't just do that, or, like, something like that. And he was questioning me, like, why are you like this type thing? Like, you don't. I was kind of embarrassed because he didn't know how bad my self-esteem was. I never told him about, my self-esteem issues and stuff like that. He just kind of knew everything that he knew about me from right before prom to that point. But I also never told him how important to me he was in that regard. And it's kind of something I regret, because I've always been super thankful to him, because I still consider him the first guy to have ever showed me attention during a time I felt like I wasn't worthy of attention, or like I wasn't attractive, and he was the only guy who gave me a chance and was able to see past my looks that were apparently so bad that no other boy wanted to be associated with me. And this boy took me to prom. He not only, like, he was just so important to me. He was so important to me. And after dealing with him, I guess is when I really started to question, like, why I have so low self-esteem. And I was trying to work on fixing it, because I don't know, if he saw something in me, then I was like, somebody else somewhere will see something in me. So now I get to college. I'm trying to go natural, so I'm dealing with that. Once I did it for prom, it was just kind of like, it became a routine thing for me. Like, every month or so I would get my eyebrows done. So now I don't really have that issue, like the thick eyebrows thing, but now I'm dealing with this whole natural hair thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I'm trying to transition. And so not only that, at this point, I'm still kind of like the shy girl. I was already a small fish in a big tank in high school, I felt like, in terms of like looks. And now I'm a small fish in an even bigger tank in college, because all these girls are really curvy. They got their hair done. This is when weave is like, I guess it's starting to really be a thing. Like, it's popping now. I don't have, or I suppose tracks were kind of, it wasn't even like full weaves or like lace fronts. It was like tracks. But I never had any of it. And so I was just kind of struggling in college with, it was my face really that I was struggling with. High school was my body, college was my face. So yeah, it didn't help that later on in college, my two best friends that became my college roommates were like, they were like two dimes. They were like good looking. They had really nice bodies, really nice faces. They had great personalities. They were both smart. We were all in the business school, and like boys loved them. And so being around them, I kind of felt like, not like a sidekick, because there was three of us now, like I did in middle school, but like I felt like the ugly friend, to put it simply. And every time we would go out, they would just get so much attention from guys, and I just always felt like the friend who was kind of there. At some point, like, I felt like maybe I should start wearing makeup too. Maybe I should start wearing weaves too, or like, I wish I was thicker, I wish I was curvier, and like my self-esteem just went right back down. It's not that it had ever gone up, but it wasn't like really low like it was in high school. Like freshman and sophomore year of college, it wasn't as bad. It was just kind of like nothingness, kind of. And then end of sophomore year, going into junior and senior year of college, that was when my self-esteem was like really bad. And I was always comparing myself to my two roommates, my two friends, and I was like, I'm just still skinny, like I'm not curvy. Yeah, but it was mostly my face that was the issue. I remember there was some point I don't know. I guess I had just built it up so much in my mind that I was just so ugly that I believed it. Like, that just was what it was. I didn't have any confidence to talk to any boys. The few boys that I had crushes on, I had crushes on like 2 main guys my whole 4 years of college, and I never had the courage to say anything to either of them. I remember at one point it had gotten so bad that I would just look in the mirror, and I got so disappointed with what I saw that I just stopped looking in mirrors for a while. Like, I would wake up, leave my room in our apartment. I would wake up, leave the room, go to the bathroom and brush my teeth, and I did not look at the mirror. Like, I just avoid looking at the mirror. I would just brush my teeth, do what I had to do, or I would go in the room and do my hair in the mirror, but I would not look at my face, because if I did, it was just going to ruin my mood, or like it would make me not feel comfortable going out. It was really, really bad. Like, when I look back on it and when I think about it, it's so bad. Like, I could not believe that it had gotten to that point. Like, I was not looking in mirrors because I thought I was so ugly. I was kind of living like a zombie. Like, I would wake up and just be like, and just kind of walking around, and I would go to class, and I would try to hide it whenever my roommates would come around, or whenever my mother and sister would be around. I would always hid it. I had to go see a counselor at one point because I started feeling like, what's the point of living? Like, at this point, I wasn't really sure where my life was going. In my back, like, every time I would try to do a sport, I would do boxing, it wasn't working because of my back. I tried to do gymnastics, wasn't working because of my back. And I felt like I was just missing out on so many opportunities, and I wasn't making the friends that I wanted to make because I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't do sports. I was in the business school with a bunch of people I didn't want to be in the business school with. My whole self-worth as a whole just went down, down, down again. There was at some point in college where I was tired of crying. I was tired of crying. I was tired of being sad. And so I had to sit myself down. I guess it was around the time that I had went to go see the counselor on campus that I sat myself down and I told myself, like, Kayla, you really have got to, you need to stop. I was like, it is what it is. If you're ugly, then you're ugly. And you don't need to sit around and cry about it all the time. Like, I was like, okay, like, let's just say I am ugly. What is me sitting here crying going to do? It's not doing anything for me, and I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of crying, and I was like, it just is what it is. I just have to accept that I'm ugly. And I was like, and you can rock with it. Like, you can be ugly and still be cool, or like, you can be ugly and still have a great personality. And that's kind of what I decided. I was like, okay, like SpongeBob, like, I was like, I'm ugly and I'm proud.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Louder!
I'm ugly and I'm proud. I am ugly and I'm proud.
I'm just kidding. But I was like, I'm ugly, but that doesn't mean that I can't have friends. That doesn't mean that I'll never find love. Like, I was like, I just have to work on the things that I can control, because I can't control this. And I never wanted to, like, all the things that I wanted, I wanted to do naturally. Like, if I wanted to be bigger, I wanted to naturally be bigger. If I wanted my hair to look long, I didn't want to get weave. I wanted to work hard and make my real hair grow long. If I wanted my face to be pretty, I wanted to work hard. Oh, I was struggling with acne. I was like, I want to work hard and work on my skin itself. I don't want to cover up my skin with makeup. I didn't want anybody to ever be like, that you're not pretty because that's not your real hair. Those aren't your eyebrows. You got lipstick on. You got a face full of makeup. You know, you got breast implants, or you got a fake butt, yada, yada, yada. Like, no, that was not going to happen to me. My goal at the time, I was like, if I ever do become pretty, it's going to be a real pretty. Like, it's going to be a natural pretty. Like, Selena and Aaliyah were always my idols. And they were like naturally beautiful women with great personalities, and that's who I always, to this day, there's my 2 top idols, and I was like, that's who I want to be like. Not only are they pretty, they're pretty inside, and I feel like it manifests outside anyway. So even if they weren't physically pretty, people were gonna love them anyway because they just had such great personalities. Even, you know, if you become the best version of you physically, it's still capped to some extent. Like, I can't control my genetics or the way I look, you know, or my height, stuff like that. But I was like, but I can control my personality, how kind and nice I am to people, how funny I am, stuff like that. So that became my real goal. And I decided to stop worrying about the way I looked physically And that was just it. Like, it's crazy what that did for me. It just freed me up. Like, I just felt so free. And once I finally, like, I guess it took like maybe a couple of days to take effect, but I was just like, okay. I started looking in the mirror again, and I was just kind of like, it is what it is. I might be ugly. And like for a while it kind of became like an inside joke with myself, and I never told my roommates about this. So looking at this video, when they see it, if they see it, they'll probably be like, what? But like, kind of became a joke with myself. Like, I would instead go in the mirror and be like, hey, I might be ugly, but like, this is what it is. Like, any guy who finally falls in love with me or wants to date me, I will love him like to infinity and beyond, because that will mean he loves me for what's inside and not for my face. Because I was like, I don't really got anything going for me out here, but if he loves me, then I'll know he loves me for what's inside. And I was like, and that's something that can never be taken away from me. I don't know what I'll look like in 10 years, you know, and I'm saying this back then in college. I was like, I don't know what I'll look like in 10 years. Maybe I'll be pretty. Maybe I'll be even uglier. But I do know what I can control is my personality, what's inside. And so that was always my focus. So, yeah, I began to really live under that mindset that like, it's what it is. Like, I let it go. I literally did that. I just let it go. Let go of the obsession that I had with thinking I was ugly, but also really letting go of the obsession of wishing I looked like so-and-so or like this kind of person or like my roommates or like anybody. I just let it go. I was like, this is what it is. I was like, I'm still good at sports. I still, you know, am good at learning languages. I'm still a nice person. Like, I have these things going for me. I just don't have this going for me. And that's okay. And then, I don't know, lo and behold, like, my self-esteem started to go up, and not because physically, but because of other things. Like I said, like, I started to see my self-worth in other things. And then once I started realizing what job I wanted and how I wanted to travel the world and teach English, like, my self-esteem started going up even more, because before I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And right before I graduated college, that's when I started figuring that out. So, you know, I'm starting to develop an identity again, and I stopped caring so much about what I look like. Now we're post-college. By the time after that summer, like, I had worked on myself mentally so much and trying to detach from the idea of like physical beauty and all this stuff that I just let it go. And by the time I started my new job later that fall, like, I was just kind of glowing. I was glowing from the inside. Not because I thought I was pretty, but because I was just kind of like a carefree type thing. Like, if anybody knows like a not so attractive person who's just got a great personality, that's what I consider myself to be. And I was just like I said, if I may not be the prettiest or like I may not be cute, but like, at least I got a great personality. So I started my new job, and it was weird to me because boys were giving me attention at this new job. That's actually where I met who would later become my first boyfriend. My first boyfriend post-college. That was fall of 2016. Spring of 2017 is when I went to Mexico. And now we're almost caught up to modern day. This story was so important, and it was so important in Mexico because a lot of people, when I told the story in my video about my trip to Mexico, people were not understanding. People just weren't nobody got it. When I was telling the story, everybody to this day is still commenting like, oh my God, like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody really believed that I didn't expect, or like they were confused as to why I was confused about my experience. And this is why I was so confused and surprised about the way people were treating me in Mexico, because I 1 year earlier, and because my self-esteem was so bad, that's just it. Because my self-esteem was so bad prior to going to Mexico, not in like the 8 months prior, immediately before Mexico, but from 6th grade all the way up until senior year of college, I felt so ugly. I felt so ugly. I felt so undesirable. And I was not used to getting male attention. I was not used to getting compliments from anybody. I was not used to just any of it. So when I went to Mexico, the juxtaposition of how I was treated, not only as a dark-skinned female, but by males in general, and comparing it to how I was treated back home in college, where it's not like people teased me in college, and then in high school and in middle school where people were so mean to me. Like, it blew my mind. That just is what it is. And like, I never really told this story, and like, I don't think a lot of people could really put two and two together. It's just like, I can understand why people don't really understand where I'm coming from when I made that video, because they don't know this about me. But now, if you've listened to the story, you'll know why. Like, and even with the situation in Korea, where I just like, I grew up kind of naive, and like, aside from the fact that I have a bad habit of trying to see the good in people, like, with the situation in Korea, like I said in other videos, I didn't expect that guy to be attracted to me. I put it past him that he would even come on to me in that kind of way, because I had it so ingrained in my mind all my life that I was just not attractive. I do not walk around thinking I'm pretty. Like I said, from 6th grade to, okay, so that was about 2005 to about 2012. No, not 2012. From 2005 to 2016, I felt ugly. And so that's the majority of my life. Like, that was all of school. So the fact that that's just how I was living, that was just my reality. 11 years of programming, telling yourself, being told by society, being told by others, and like seeing the actions of others that is telling you that you're ugly or less than attractive. Like, it took me some time to peel all that back and get to the core and get to be the person that I am now. And the person that I am now, I'm still kind of that girl that I decided I was going to be in college. I don't have bad self-esteem, but I have good self-esteem. But my self-esteem is kind of like, I know I'm a good person type thing. I pride myself in being a kind person, being a considerate person. I'm fun. I have an outgoing personality. Like, if you can get past the me that's shy, like, if you know me on a personal level, like, I'm outgoing. But like, not only was I humbled so much by my experiences throughout school, but like, I see the importance of not putting so much of your self-worth on the way you look physically anyway. So even if, let's just say, I woke up tomorrow and I looked like, who I think is beautiful. Even if I woke up tomorrow and looked like Kelly Rowland or Aaliyah or like the prettiest female anybody has ever seen, I would not let it change me in any way at all, because I know how dangerous that is. I don't care. I do not care about looks. Like, it's not my focus. It will never be my focus. Ever since senior year of college, I will not let myself go back down that path. Not being super sad because I think I'm ugly, and not being super happy because I think I'm the most beautiful thing walking this planet. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I refuse to ever be either one of those people. Like I said, it's just not a safe thing to do. Because one thing that's inevitable, no matter who you are, is you're gonna get old and your looks are gonna fade eventually. And so if I pride myself on being some super pretty person, then eventually, no matter who you are, like I said, you're gonna lose that. So what are you gonna have then? Tying your self-worth to the way you look physically is too risky anyway, because anything can happen. I could break out and my skin I could get pimples everywhere tomorrow. I could wake up and I don't know what happened. I could get trapped in a fire and like, like, it's just too risky. Like, my hair could start falling out, whatever. I could get some disease and get super skinny, or get some disease and get super big. You just never know. You can't control, you're not your body. You can't control your body. None of that is really, you can control it to an extent, but not completely. And that's just too risky to me, to put too much of my pride, or to ever put so much of my self-worth on the way I look physically ever again. I wouldn't, and I still haven't. I still have not. I still will not. Do I wake up and try to do the best that I can do with what I have? Yeah, I learned to work with what I have. But for the most part, when I'm walking around this world, this life, I'm not walking around with the idea that I'm super pretty, or that I'm anything, or that I'm super ugly or anything. Whatever people feel about me is just kind of the way that they feel about me. If someone tells me that they think that I'm pretty, I just say thank you, I appreciate it, and I do appreciate compliments. If anybody says that, I'm just like, thanks, and it's just kind of like something that happened. My main goal is always at this point going to be to work on my mind, to work on my intellect, to work on my heart and to work on my personality, because like I said, those are things that are in my control, so long as I don't get like brain damage or, you know, something happens to my brain. And I think that's really important, and I think a lot of people need to do that, but I don't think they don't know how, they don't know that they need to do it, or they don't realize that that's an option. And I see now that I'm like into like the self-help, self-love books and videos, and like I'm in that phase of my life, I see videos all the time about like letting go, you know, things of all the cliche things that you might have heard as a kid. Like, I did that on accident. Like, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a name for it. I just knew that I had gotten tired of feeling ugly, being sad, crying. And so I decided to let it go. And suddenly my world kind of just like changed. So that's it. I'm tired of talking. Oh my God, my butt's so numb. Like, my back is still not good to this day. Yeah, please like and subscribe. I actually don't really care if you guys do that. I feel like I have to say that because YouTubers say that, but like, I don't really care if anybody likes or subscribes either. Like, if you do like it, you can like it. If you like to subscribe, then subscribe. But if you don't, I'm cool with that too. Like, I just don't care. I've been kind of getting caught up in the whole like social media thing lately, because I was really like wanting to build like a career out of it, but at this point I'm starting to let that go too, because I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't care if I have 10,000 subscribers or 10 subscribers, and you know, whatever beauty that I have on the inside, hopefully it manifests into a nice, beautiful life for me, you know, in the near future. But I'm not tripping over anything. I'm not tripping over a guy. I'm not tripping over a career. I'm not tripping over any lifestyle. Everything that's supposed to happen for me is going to happen in due time. All I got to do is do the work, the inner work, and everything else is just going to happen the way it happens. Like, it's going to work itself out.